welcome back to another episode of Be Rob Inspired, where we're bringing extraordinary stories and inspiration from ordinary people. I am super excited about our guest today, Marie Christine Williams. I had met her probably about 6 months ago and heard her story and immediately was moved. And I cannot wait to share what she's been through. It's probably one of the most miraculous stories of somebody who's an absolute fighter, somebody who has experienced some of the most horrific travesties that I've ever heard of. And what she's done with her life and where she's taken her life to inspire others is absolutely incredible. So Marie Christine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, let's jump in. Tell everybody what you're up to these days. I know you have a movie that's getting ready to come out. That's exciting, about your life story. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we're making a movie about my life story. It's based on when I was a child all the way to the time I came here in Nisango West. So the movie is based on my childhood. Is based on a genocide that happened in 1994 in April. And so we're actually getting the story together, and we're planning on empower the community by sharing my story. So.
Well, I think it's incredible, one, that you're doing that, and two, that you're able to openly talk about what you experienced. If you don't mind, let's go back to that. Let's take us to, kind of pre-genocide, what was going on in your life, what you experienced, and then walking through that. I want to get into some of these stories because, one, I am just blown away that you're sitting here in front of me today and able to talk about these and that you're here with us. So take us back to the very beginning. How did all this happen?
Yeah, so I was born in Bucharest, Romania, and my mother, she was half French, half Romanian. My father was from Rwanda. So when I was 7 years old, I moved to Rwanda to live with my father and my sister. So the life in Rwanda was completely different than the life I knew in Europe for two reasons. I was a mixed child in moving in the third world country, and the traditionally people they were different, and basically was also divided. The country was divided between tribes, and my father was the Tutsi, the one of the most hated tribes in Rwanda. So it was very hard to live there. It was a lot of chaos. People judged each other not by the color of the skin, not by where they came from. It was actually by your height.
Really?
Yes.
They judged you by your height.
They judged you by your height because they considered you, if you were tall, you were a Tutsi, and if you were short, you were Hutu.
Wow.
And to me, it never made sense. It never made sense for two reasons. Because I had neighbors who were other opposite tribes. Actually, they looked more Tutsi than I was.
Did you have any other additional struggles being a mixed child in that environment? Was that even harder, in addition to the height challenges and discrimination based on that?
Yes, because I was biracial child in middle of Africa, Rwanda. So basically, I looked different. And when I moved there, I didn't speak Rwandan. I spoke only French and Romanian. So I was bullied a lot in school growing up. I was abused by everybody on the streets, the teachers. They've divided the classes. Do you know which child, where they came from, the household, which tribe they belong to? So it was very hard for me.
And then give me ages that you were in this transition when you moved there.
I was 7 to 14.
So very tough ages in general. And then you have all this other social and discrimination and challenges on top of that. When did everything break out as far as when you had people invade your house? Tell us that story.
So in 1994, I was just 14 years old. I was just a typical teenager. I was very curious growing up. I had neighbors that I thought they cared about me. But in 1994, everything changed. The life I knew ended. I found myself running away, not just from the gangs of killers, but I was running away from my neighbors too. So I remember hearing my neighbors screaming, and I remember seeing the house in our back neighbors. The house was burning. So by the time I was trying to run back in the house to tell my father what just happened, my house was attacked. So I never got a chance to get in the house.
When you say attacked, what happened? Like paint the
So
scene.
basically, the Hutu tribes, they had a list of everybody who lived in each neighborhood and who lived in each household. So they actually knew how many people who lived in a home. They knew what tribe do you belong to. And again, if they will come to your home and they will count the list of how many people should be there, and one was missing, they will burn the house down. So I remember hearing my neighbors screaming, and one of my friend, she was trying to run away. I remember peeking from the gate between the concrete fence that was between us. I remember seeing her running towards where I was, but they got on her. Actually, they killed her, and I knew that the Rwandan life I knew was ended. I tried to take off running, and I tried to go to my neighbors. It was bad. It was very bad because I remember the neighbor that I thought he was like my father. He was somebody who have kids my age. I remember telling me to run, that if I came back, he would kill me too.
My gosh. And you're 14 years old when this is happening.
Yes. And I really just can tell you this. I remember when I was running from my household, my neighborhood, I remember hearing screaming noises that I really wanted the noise, the screams to stop. I remember hiding in a bush, sleeping the night there. It was raining. And I remember feeling like I'm going to die today.
Not knowing if your house is going to be there, if it's burnt down.
I remember the house was burned down when I left because the people who came and attacked our household, they knew that I was missing. So they burned the house. So I remember before I took off running to my neighbor, we had like a lot of gardens, and I hid behind the bush. I remember hearing them calling my name, and actually one of the guys said, "Hey, Christine, you need to come out now. You need to come out now." That time, I knew I had to do everything I can to survive.
Because if you came out, what was going to happen to you?
I knew they would do exactly what they were doing to other Tutsi tribe. They would kill me too. Because the reason I share my story, one of the biggest thing is to remind people that, we're all humans and we have to learn how to live together. We have to learn how to accept each other, and we have to learn how to not judge people by their looks, appearances, because sometimes we're so quickly to judge without actually knowing the facts.
100% correct. I can't imagine being 14 years old, having my home broken into, lit on fire, and you said that they were murdering your neighbors. What happened to your family?
Two of them got out. They took them. The other ones, they were killed in the house before they set the house on fire. And when I took off running, leaving my neighborhood, I knew was the last time I would ever go back.
To never go back.
So for 100 days, I was hiding from the gangs of killers. So to me, everyone I met, they were a threat to me. Because I looked different, because I didn't speak well Rwandan, because I was tall for my age, and also because based on the things they were doing, they were all brainwashed. The government had a radio called RTM. It was for the propaganda. It was it was all about hatred. It was about how someday they're going to eliminate the Tutsis, how they're going to kill them all. And also, the story doesn't start in 1994. The story started in 1950s. So this is the repeating history that happened in the 1950s.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for 100 days, you're hiding anywhere you can hide?
Yes.
What are you eating? Where are you living? What does that look like?
So I looked like a skeleton. When I left my home, I was naked. I had a tiny little shirt on and a t-shirt. I was barefooted. I didn't know where I was going. I remember, when growing up, let's go back for a second. My father used to tell me how worthless I was. He always told me that I never deserved anything in life. To me, that was my first time I felt like I have to prove my father wrong. So I really feel like because of abuse I received at home and school and everything I went through, it kind of helped me survive because I grew up angry. I grew up abused. I grew up locked up in a closet by my father. I remember sometimes when they wouldn't even feed me because I think it was an issue between my mother and my father. And so my father was kind of revenging towards me for some reason. But at the same time, I can tell you that everything I survived in my household, survived my father's abuse, I think saved my life during the genocide.
Because you had that vow to prove him wrong. You're a fighter.
I had to fight. I had to fight like I did at home. At home, I had to fight for everything. If I wanted something, I had to fight for. I was blamed for everything, especially when my father called me worthless. I always told him, when I grow up, I'm going to be very successful. I'm going to have a better life than you have, and I'm going to prove you wrong. And I did all that.
Yeah, you did. Now they're making a movie about you.
Oh, yes.
That's amazing. What happened after the 100 days?
So during that 100 days, I went through a lot of struggles. I was caught by the gangs of killers. They took me and locked me in school with another women and children. So then, for some reason, I escaped because it was someone, a stranger, saved my life. I remember when I was hiding, this guy came from nowhere. He looks at me. I'm scared of him. He's scared of me. And he's like, oh, we're both hiding. He's like, you can survive this. You have to run as fast as you can. And every time you run, do not look back. Because every time you look back or you stop, you slow down. So he told me, like, these people have knives and machetes. These people, they don't have guns. You're young and you're strong. Then I remember telling him, I'm weak. My feet, they're hurting so bad. He's like, you know what? When you start running, don't think about your feet. Just run. So I tell people this story because even today, I feed off that story because to me, looking back today, I feel like, a stranger for coming in and telling me how smart I was for the first time in my life and telling me that I can do this. Even today, when I'm struggling, I look back and say, you know what? That's the past. I have to keep looking forward towards the future. And I have to focus on tomorrow, not yesterday.
That's amazing.
He saved my life.
Wow. And how much has faith played a part in your life and where you are today?
I just really feel like if I didn't have God in my life, I would not be here today. I just believe that we all have purpose in our lives. You have a purpose. I have mine. And I tried for over 20 years to figure out why me? Why I survived the machetes? They tried to kill me many times. Why I'm still here today? And what my purpose was. It took me 20 years. I came to figure out that, I have to share my story so I can empower people. I can motivate people to never give up and to keep hope before anything. So
I think that's inspiration 101. That is absolutely fascinating. And I want to go back to when you said you were attacked, I want our listeners to understand to the extent that this happened to you. You escaped twice. The third time, they caught you, they brought you back. They left you for dead, did they not?
Yes. So what they did is on the third time I was caught, the reason even it came the third time, remember how I told you that during the genocide I didn't trust people? Mm-hmm. That's one of them. The lady recognized me. She started screaming to take the attention of her so she can run away. She saw me. She mentioned my name. She mentioned that she knew my family and the neighborhood I lived in. So all these people came after me. I remember them marching me on a bridge with a bunch of other women. I remembering like, hey, I have to run. I have to run. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die running. So they dragged me on a bridge. I remember standing there. I'm holding a little girl I found somewhere. I don't remember exactly where, but her mother was dead. This little girl, I'm holding her, and I'm like, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. But in my mind, I'm standing in the broad. I'm counting people in front of me. The line is getting smaller. I'm like, I'm going to run.
And they're hitting them with machetes.
Throwing them off the bridge.
Throwing them off the bridge.
Yes. So what I did, I held the baby very tight. I took off running. The guy, somebody shot me in the back. And I fell on the ground. He came quickly and grabbed me by the leg, actually dragged me back over there. The first thing I remember the first machete. He tried to cut my head off, but what I did is I moved. I started fighting him. So the last blow was on my forehead. That's when I thought I was dead.
Hit you in the forehead with a machete.
With a machete. That was the third hit. So the first one was the back of my head. The second one was in the middle of my head. And third one was my forehead. And I think he thought I was dead. He threw me off the bridge like everybody else. And I remember hearing voices. I thought I was dead. And this person is like, we're the good guys. We're the good guys. We're here to help you. I remember them taking me to the rubber camp. They tried to dig bullets out of my back and they tried to take care of me. It didn't work. I couldn't walk. I couldn't feel my body. I didn't remember my name. I didn't remember who I was. Then they dropped me in hospital where it was not doctors, no electricity. It was piled up with dead bodies. So that's how I made it out. So during the 100 days, I was running, digging in the gardens during the night, trying to find fruits. I even don't know how I made it.
You're a miracle. I mean, to be shot, hit with a machete 3 times, left for dead, thrown off a bridge. It's a miracle you're sitting here today. And you said 20 years of going through what you went through. What was that pivotal moment for the next 20 years for you?
So I really never thought. So all of this happened when I was young. Mm-hmm. First of all, I was abandoned by my mother when I was 3 months old. Then when I was 7 years old, I found myself in Rwanda, in third world country. And when I was 14, it was genocide. And when I was 14 years old, 6 months later, when I got back in Europe, I was supposed to lose my both legs because I had a lot of issues going on, infections, tetanus. Life was really hard. I fought. I'm walking today. So basically for me, I never thought I would see at 20. I never thought I would be 30. And next week, I'm going to be in the middle of 40s. So I'm very excited about the life God gave me. And I'm very grateful for a second chance God gave me. And that's why I share his testimony. That's why I go out. I share my story. I empower people. I do different type of speaking engagements. And that's why I love what I do.
And that's what you do now full time. You carry that message and that inspiration to empower others, and you speak full time.
Yes, I do speak full time, but sometimes I also do. I just love flipping houses. My first house, I was almost 18. So I bought this little apartment in the middle of Paris, and I flipped it. I didn't have any money. I didn't have much, but I learned how to work hard for everything I have in life, including if I'm doing speaking events, or if I'm empowering teenagers in high schools, or whenever I feel like doing something like flipping houses and doing other things that bring value in my life. That's what I do.
Well, that's exciting. I cannot wait to see your movie.
Yes.
What's next for you?
So we are actually we're planning on doing casting by end of this year.
Okay.
We're working on a screenplay, and we're also working on everything we need. But I think next year we will probably be in South Africa with my film crew. And I do have to tell you that my story is going to empower people here in Missouri, because Missouri needs people like us who have stories to empower people that this is a nice city, is a beauty. We have people that are wonderful here. So that's what I'm planning on doing.
Well, that's fantastic. Is there anything you would go back and tell the 14-year-old you, knowing what you know today, looking back? What would you tell that little girl?
Oh, I would tell her that, hey, you made it. You did great. You're very you should be proud of yourself. Life is going to be great. Keep doing what you're doing in your community to empower others to never give up.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm super proud of you. Thank you for being on the show today. We cannot wait to see your movie and see all the things that you're going to do going forward. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thank you.